What's going on, YouTube? This is Stitch here, and it's time for another episode of Things That Are Awesome. This time, Lilo and Stitch. But it has to be the best movie ever. I'm gonna tell you why. It's...
That little punk out of the way. Alright guys, today I'm going to do a very unique list. This is a list, it's in no particular order. I was going to do this as a top 10 list, but I realized that I don't really have any order of this. These are movies I'm never going to see. I'm never going to review them. I'm never going to discuss them or anything about them, no matter how much you beg or plead or anything. And it's an interesting idea for a list, so let's try it out. I want to talk about two movies I might, emphasis on might, reverse my opinion on. I might see these, but for now I'm on the fence about them. The first one is Slither. And this is one of those movies where at first I thought, wow, when I heard this movie, I saw the poster of the girl in the bathtub with all the slugs crawling in. I thought, wow, this looks really cool. I mean, I might check this out. And then I was in Florida. I was at Club Med, and I saw the ad for this movie on TV. And it really scared the crap out of me. They had all this creepy stuff, like a guy whose face is all screwed up, and there was that absurdly fat woman that was screaming for help, and I wonder if that is context in the movie. Can someone who's seen the movie tell me what the context is on that? And that terrified me so much. In fact, to this day, since seeing that trailer, I have not taken a bath. That's how much that movie scared me. Maybe because my bathtub is like this by this. But I have a very tiny bathtub. I only take showers now thanks to that movie. So you could argue it's doing something right there, but I don't know. And something that kind of interests me about this movie. Everyone describes it as a horror comedy. And I'm curious about that. Because I've seen like some quotes from this movie on websites like Movie Mistakes and stuff. And the quotes for this movie are hilarious. And I like a lot of them. But I don't know if that's enough to get me to actually see the thing. I may or may not reverse my opinion of this. I'm worried it's going to be like too gross for me. And it kind of shocks me that this is from the guy who wrote the Scooby-Doo movies, James Gunn. He went on to he wrote some really cutesy kids movie, now he's directing this Bloodfest. So that's one I may or may not see. And the other one I may or may not see is Toy Story 3. It's the only Pixar movie I have not seen. And the reason I probably won't see it is because it's just, everyone's saying it's like super sad, it's super emotional, it's really deep, and it's really sentimental about like growing up and stuff. And I'm a guy who really, as you can see from that little punk over there, ow, shut up, you little big baby. I'm very sentimental about my toys. I mean, I'm one of those guys who really does not want to grow up. Say what you will about me as a person, judging from that, but I'll take it in stride. I may or may not. But I don't want to think about that kind of stuff when I watch a movie. I'm not gonna willingly pay money to cry. I mean, movies that do bum me out, like I Am Legend or House of Night or stuff, that's not a movie, but still. At least they had good premise and good advertising, and they just turned out to be soul-crushingly miserable. Toy Story 3, no matter what, I'm gonna go in knowing I'm gonna cry at this movie. So I may or may not see that. Now on to movies that I really am never going to see. One of them is Precious, based on the novel Pushed by Sapphire. Apparently you have to call it that. It is probably one of the longest movie titles in the world. And the sole reason I'm not seeing this is because I've read the plot of this movie is like some horrible, sick in the head, abusive mother that won her an Oscar, so it must be really good. And that she like beats her kid. I saw this clip where she like throws a pan at her daughter and it hits her in the head. And, like this dad who like rapes his daughter and gets her pregnant twice. And that's not something I want to dwell on. That's not something I want to see in a movie. I'm not gonna willingly pay money for a rape scene. Another movie is another horror movie. It's The Ruins. And when I first heard of this movie, all it said was it was like a deadly force that haunts some beneath the ruins. And I had never heard of the book. I didn't know anything about this movie. So I naturally thought, it's monsters, okay? It's monsters under there. It's monsters are gonna try to eat them or something. And I'm like, that is cool. I love monster movies. I love stuff like that. But that would have been a far better movie. But when I saw the trailer before Cloverfield, it was like plants that grow inside people. Forget about the fact that that's stupid. Try saying that out loud. It really does not work. It doesn't really work as a horror movie. But I don't know. It's just, plus the idea. I'll get back to this on my number one movie I'll never ever see. Anything I haven't do like things inside you or anything it has to deal with like growing inside you or like intestines or anything. That is my number one biggest fear. My biggest fear is anything having to do with your insides, and it just makes me want to vomit just thinking about it. More horror movies I'll never review. The Human Centipede. I'm sure you all want to know what I think of this. At first, when I heard of this movie, I thought it was going to be like, they actually turned someone into like an actual bug. I found out it was like they sew their mouths to their butts, and like, that's just dumb. And, same thing with that new movie that's coming out, Rubber, about a killer tire. Do I even need to give a reason why I'm not seeing this movie? I mean, that has to be a joke. This movie has to be fake. I mean, no one could be that stupid. And, what else is there? Black Swan. I've talked about this before, I'm not seeing Black Swan. Solely for the fact that it doesn't look like it's enough to grab my attention. Like, it doesn't look like it's gonna be, like, truly thrilling, or truly, like, edge of your seat or anything. It just looks like a lesbian ballerina movie. And God bless Natalie Portman. I'm sure she did great in this movie. She probably deserved that Oscar. But, it's just, in the long run, it's just, this doesn't look like, even the lesbian scene isn't gonna get me to see this, and, if a lesbian scene won't get me in the theater, we have a problem. So, what else? There's gotta be something else. 300. You probably want to know what I think of this. This is another one of those movies that just doesn't look like anything special. I look at it, it does look like what everyone else is joking about. It's just a bunch of shirtless guys running around. And I don't see anything unique or original about this or anything. And, Saturday Night Live did a really funny spoof of this, where, like, it turns out everyone in the army is gay. And Gerard Butler is reprising his role as saying, like, but what about all the gay sex we had? That was just because you were gay? Really hilarious stuff. And the Blair Witch Project is just, I've heard from a lot of people that the movie is just, you really don't know whether or not there's a threat. And for all I know, this movie is just a bunch of people running around. And, so, this may or may not be something worth checking out. And, I'm gonna do it, folks. I'm gonna tell you what The Unspeakable movie is. And I'm gonna tell you about, if you've seen my worst movies I've ever seen video, you know about The Unspeakable movie that I will never see. I'm gonna tell you what it is. I won't go into detail because, as I said, I have not seen this, but The Unspeakable movie, number one movie I will never, ever, ever see. Osmosis Jones. You have no idea how much it hurts me to say that. I mean, it's awful. I saw the ad for this movie, just the trailer, and I was so terrified. It absolutely traumatized me to my core. And, it's just, I told you about anything having to do with anyone's insides or anything just sickens me. And the fact that a whole movie is about this. And how did this get greenlit? Who thought this was a good idea? Let's make a whole movie inside a guy. Who thought that was a good idea? And they've got all these big stars in it. They got Lawrence Fishburne and Bill Murray. Oh God, Bill Murray. This should have been his one regret when he died in Zombieland. That should have been his regret. Garfield was okay. But honestly, I am never going to see this movie. A friend of mine has this movie on VHS. And when I saw that he had it, I just like, well, I gotta go, man. I'll see you later. And I haven't talked to him in like a few years since. Because I'm just so terrified of this movie. I don't want to be in the same room with it. And, another one I'll never see. I'm never going to see any movie based on a Nicholas Sparks novel. Why? Because I had The Notebook on my Netflix list. I was going to see it, because like Twilight, I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And then I started to saw the ads for Dear John and The Last Song, and I'm like, these are awful. So I took and I started looking at his other books. I realized each and every one of his books is the exact same thing. So I took The Notebook off. Like, there's literally no difference. It's always, there's two people, they meet, they like each other, but there's always something keeping them apart. That's it. And there are so many other good romantic movies that could do that. And, like, Dear John, I think Dear John is the worst offense, the movie version. Because Amanda Seyfried and Channing Tatum, they have as much chemistry together as fire and water. I mean, they're just so bland, and they say, "Yep, I'm in love with you." That's what they say from what I've seen in the trailers, and it's just Amanda Seyfried, you need to fire your agent, girl, because in my opinion, she has never made a good movie. Like, Mamma Mia was terrible. Haven't seen Jennifer's Body. Don't know if I will. Red Riding Hood, not going to see that. The Happening, I will not see The Happening. Because everyone's just telling me it's terrible and it's awful. And it sounds like the goofiest goofy movie ever. I think that's pretty much it. I've got The Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen. That's another movie that, again, I saw a trailer for it where there's like a shot that they go inside somebody, and I hate that, as I said. Plus, it does not sound like the most, like the best movie. A guy turns into a dog. How much can you do with that? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, I'm out. I'm very depressed talking about that The Unspeakable film. So I'm out.